So as a 46-year-old woman living with, ADHD or undiagnosed ADHD, my brain needs time to warm up. This is the first problem with having a rigid routine, is that when the clock says it's 9 o'clock, it's time to write, this is the activity you must do, my brain instantly says, no, you're not. We are going to do something else. My brain will start to focus on everything else in my life except the thing that I'm supposed to be doing.
If you've been feeling overwhelmed, disconnected from your business, or just tired of trying to keep up with it all, take a breath. I'm Krista Bauer, and this is the Slow Creative Podcast. Together, we'll explore what it means to grow your business with calm, intention, and soulful design. From slow marketing to Canva and simplifying the way you work so you can spend less time marketing and more time focused on your clients, your creativity, and your craft.
Have you ever heard coaches and gurus, authors especially, or writers who say, I sit down every single day at my computer, 9 a.m., no matter what, and I will write a chapter, or I will write 3 pages of a book, or I'll write a blog post. Like, that's my designated time to get X, Y, or Z activity done. And I have always admired people who were able to sit down when that clock goes off, or that colored coded block on their Google Calendar tells them that it's now time to sit down and write content, that they can sit down and their brain just automatically starts to work, and everything that they want to do in that half an hour or 1 hour block gets done. I absolutely admire those people, and honestly, I'm kind of envious. To have that level of consistency and that level of predictability in your life is probably something that many people take for granted. For me, my brain doesn't just work when I say you need to create now, you need to be creative. When I was in my early 20s, I read the book Scattered Minds by Gabor Mate, I'm not sure how to say his name, but it was such an incredible book. It was an eye-opening book, and it was honestly the first time in my life that I had ever felt really seen and understood, because it talked about ADHD and what that looks like. And I thought, this is it. This is 100% me. So as a 46-year-old woman living with, ADHD or undiagnosed ADHD, my brain needs time to warm up. This is the first problem with having a rigid routine, is that when the clock says it's 9 o'clock, it's time to write, this is the activity you must do, my brain instantly says, no, you're not. We are going to do something else. My brain will start to focus on everything else in my life except the thing that I'm supposed to be doing. I know this about myself. So if I try to sit down and it's 9 a.m. and I try to force myself to write, it's going to take me 2, 3, or 4 times longer to try to do that activity and to try to write a blog post or record a video than if I give myself some flexibility. My brain needs autonomy. The other problem with having a really strict routine is that my life isn't structured in a way that I can just sit and write at predictable times. My life is very unpredictable. As a single mom with 2 young children, quasi homeschooling, having kids home, kids are sick, something is happening, and plans get changed all of the time in my world. Days don't look the way that I thought they were going to look often. So I'm constantly having to pivot. So if I have a set schedule, a lot of the times it's just not going to happen because something has come up, something else needs my attention. There's interruptions. There are many things that prevent me from being able to sit and have a blocked off time to work on certain things that I need to work on to keep my business momentum going and to stay consistent in my business. It just doesn't happen for me that way. My life just isn't predictable enough to have this set time where I can sit down and write content, at a certain time every day, or record a video, or do whatever tasks need to be done. So if consistency is important to helping you gain momentum in your business, to help you, Ezzy? Yeah. What do you need, babe?
I want you.
Okay, I'm almost done. Can you give me 10 minutes? That's all I need.
What is this, Sarah?
I'm just recording a video here. And we have a sick kid here today. What was I saying? Okay, so how do I stay consistent in my business? How do I show up for myself? How do I create content? How do I, keep the momentum going when a rigid, highly structured schedule, a predictable schedule, just doesn't work for my life, and it doesn't work for the way my brain functions? So before I give you the answer to that question, I just want to say it's not that I don't value structure, because I absolutely do. I do have structures in place. They're just gentler structures. Nothing is rigid, nothing is forced. Everything contains a lot of fluidity and flexibility, which is what I'm going to be talking about in this video. And I think this is really helpful for anybody who is neurodivergent, for anybody who has a brain that kind of rebels against demands, or if you just have a very unpredictable life like I do. Maybe you have young kids like me, maybe you have a busy schedule, maybe you're working another job, or you're caring for parents, or maybe you have a chronic illness and you don't have the mental and emotional capacity to have a predictable schedule, because day to day you don't know what things are going to look like. So here's what I do. Instead of forcing myself into rigid routines, I focus on anchor points. Anchor points are natural transitions within my day that help provide rhythm and direction and focus for the things that I need to do in a more fluid and flexible way. It's really helpful for somebody like me who has ADHD, because as soon as I start to feel too boxed in or caged in, my brain instantly rebels and it starts to fight for that autonomy. It wants choice. It doesn't want to be told how or when to create. So I find that giving myself a little flexibility and having anchor points just gives me the space that I need for me to act on them when I'm in that flow state. So even when I'm in a high flow state and the creative ideas are coming and I want to sit down and maybe write a blog post, or I want to record a video, or I want to work on a workbook that I'm creating for a new offer that I want to launch, even when I'm in those high creative flow states, my life is not set up in a way that it's even always feasible or practical for me to go sit down and work on those ideas. So that's what I want to share with you, is what my creative rhythm kind of looks like day to day, and how you might also benefit from anchor points, these natural transitions in your day, especially if traditional productivity advice has never really worked for you. There are so many studies out there that say scheduling your creativity helps, because if you have to wait for the inspiration to come, it may never come. You hear writers talking about that all the time. If I had to wait to feel inspired to write, I would not have been able to write this book. And honestly, I agree with that. I think that's solid advice. Structure helps your ideas find you. And if we're all being honest, if we all had to wait for the inspiration to come, most of us would never create anything. But here's what those studies and all of that research doesn't usually account for, and that's that not every brain thrives on rigid structure that's every minute is accounted for. Not every brain works that way, or not every life is set up in that way where you can be that predictable with your time. Obviously, I'm not a psychologist. I am just somebody who is sharing their experience, and maybe I am missing the key here. Maybe there is a secret to productivity about having a rigid schedule that I'm not aware of yet. So if you have the answers, please share them in the comments below. I would love to learn and find a way to be more sustainable and to be consistent and follow a routine and a schedule that works for people with my kind of brain and people with really limited time and an unpredictable life. I think we would all love to hear how we can make that happen. But from what I've experienced in my own life is that having a rigid system usually backfires. I remember I used to time block my Google Calendar, and I'd have everything kind of like outline what I would be working on. Monday was for like writing newsletters. Tuesday was for content creation. Wednesdays was for recording and all of the things. And I was trying to be really disciplined and force myself into this box. But the more I tried to force my creativity and force my ideas into these time blocks, the more resistance I felt and the less productive I became. I'd sit down at that designated time to write my Instagram content for the week, and then the ideas wouldn't come. I'd sit down to record at a specific time that I had outlined, and my energy wasn't there yet. And I was always feeling like I'm doing this wrong. And then later, when I'd be walking the dogs or I'm making dinner, suddenly all of these ideas would start to flow And then I wasn't at my designated block time and I couldn't sit down to write or create or make a video because now it wasn't a feasible time. So I was always battling with this rigid structure and it was so frustrating. That's when I started to relax on the routines a little. I started to ease up and I gave myself the permission to be more fluid and flexible and to just accept that my brain and my life are different. It's not going to look like everybody else's, but I can still create consistency and keep the momentum going in a way that just works better for my life, my energy, and the way that my brain works. So I think the first thing that I did was I just started to accept that things look different for me. My brain works differently. My life is very unpredictable. Sometimes kids are homesick that I didn't anticipate. Sometimes kids don't want to go to school that I didn't anticipate. There are so many reasons why I just can't sit down and do certain things at certain times. So that was the first step, is just easing up on this notion that in order for me to be successful and to be consistent, I needed to work on this rigid timeline that works for other people, just doesn't work for me. I might want to write at 10 a.m., but life with kids doesn't always make that possible. Someone's needing something, the house is too loud, my energy is just not ready yet. Instead of creating these really rigid timestamps, color blocking every single task or thing that I need to get done in a day, I create windows. So for example, if I know that I want to record a video, there's usually a block of time in there. So it's not that I sit down and I say it's 1 o'clock, I need to go record a video. I have some spaciousness so that I can come in. If I need my brain to warm up by doing some lighter activities first, maybe responding to emails or just reading the bullet points of what it is that I want to say, I will give myself time and spaciousness to do those things first. So for example, I could be in my creative flow state to start recording at 1 o'clock, but some days it might be 2. And I have this window blocked out. So I just work with how my energy is feeling that day, where my brain is at. And if I'm really struggling and the words aren't flowing and they're not articulating, then sometimes I might just work with it the next day because I feel like it's taking up more precious time that I don't really have to fight the resistance of trying to force ideas and words to come when they're just not flowing. Sometimes the energy just isn't there. Sometimes the ideas are there, but the words aren't coming out effortlessly or they're not coming out as easily. And rather than always fighting myself on these things, I'll just put it aside and say I'll come back to it tomorrow. Now, in order for this to be effective, you don't want to be recording if you're always down to the 11th hour of creating something. If you know you have to have a video out that day, then this might be tricky for you to do because you're going to feel that pressure. I try to build in buffer time. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes things do pile up. Last week, it was my daughter's birthday. We had our party, we had our birthday. I had so many technical issues and I didn't get the videos out this week or my podcast out this week the way that I had intended. Normally I have things created a little bit in advance, but because I've been so busy with life, with birthdays and all of the other things, I didn't have it done. So rather than saying to myself, I have to have a video out on a Tuesday or a Wednesday at 2 p.m., I allow myself to have 2 videos published in the week, which is my goal right now, but the days don't really matter. If it's a Saturday, and even though a Saturday is probably not the most ideal day to post a video, so be it. It gets up on a Saturday because I missed the Tuesday or the Wednesday timeline because of other things that were happening. That's the kind of flexibility that I'm talking about. You know, if I missed a deadline for getting a video out because things happen, I don't sweat it. I don't beat myself up. I don't tell myself, oh, I failed. There's no point in doing this. Now I've messed up my algorithm for YouTube and now they're not going to show my videos as much. I could tell myself all of these stories. Some of these things do have an impact. Of course they do. But instead, I choose to keep going, to do it imperfectly, and know that I still am going to make my 2 videos in the week. Even if they're back to back on a Saturday, I've hit my goal of creating 2 videos. So it's that kind of flexibility and fluidity that I allow myself. I give myself that kind of permission so that I can continue on the journey. I can continue to have momentum. I can continue to show up for myself, not beat myself up, not feel like a failure, not feel like I'm not going to succeed at this because I didn't stick to a rigid timeline and structure. Okay, so the next thing that I want to get to is the anchor points that I talked about. These are the natural transitions, which I think works really well. Again, if you are someone like me who's short on time, has a lot of other things happening, can't necessarily stick to a rigid schedule, rigid schedules don't work for your brain, don't work for your life, then anchor points are really the rhythm that holds all of it together. They are not fixed times per se, they're just natural transitions in my day that help me go from mode to mode. So, in the mornings when, I'm with my son and we're doing homeschooling and I'm getting kids off to school, I'm in mom mode, I'm in family mode, I'm not focused on work. I might check in and respond to an email quickly, I might look a few things up in my calendar, but I'm not doing any deep focused work. I'm not getting into anything creative. It's really like light admin kind of things that I might do. And I'm not spending a lot of time on those things. Then around 11:45, 12 o'clock, I drive him to school and he goes to school. And then I come home, it's a 15-minute drive. My first anchor point is when I get home and I walk the dogs. That's the first thing I do as soon as I get home every single day, as long as my kids are at school that day. Then I come home, I walk the dogs, and on that walk, it helps me transition from mom mode to get into work mode, into my deep creative flow state. I've been doing this long enough, I've been in this rhythm long enough to know that now this is my mode to get into the next phase of my day, which is where I can really focus on me. Then when I come home, it often looks like me getting a beverage, having a tea, something to drink, and just getting cozy, sitting at my desk. It's not forced, it's not rushed, it's just like a gentle transition where I slowly kind of get into the mode. Usually when I've walked my dogs, I'm on the walk and I'm thinking about what do I want to do in the next 2 hours that I have of uninterrupted time where I know I'm going to be working. What is it that I need to do? What are my priorities? Where do I want to start? So I'm already getting my wheels turning about where it is that I need to go. And almost always when I transition during this anchor point, and I sit at my desk and I get my cup of coffee and I'm feeling cozy and I'm feeling warm, I'm never ready to get into that deep focused work immediately. I need a little bit of a warm up. My brain needs some time to kind of turn on and get into that mode. So I usually start with light admin activities. Again, that's checking emails. It could be updating my Notion tracker, making sure my workflows are good. If I'm recording that day, it could be reviewing my outline and making sure I know what I'm going to be speaking about. It could be doing a quick tidy of my space if I hadn't yet done that. So there's like a few things that kind of happen. And that can usually take anywhere from 15 minutes to even a half an hour. And usually after I've done those things, then my brain starts to feel warmed up and I feel ready to get into my deeper flow state. So between the hours of 1 and 3, usually like 1:30 and 3, because about 3 o'clock is when I shut everything down and then I transition at my next anchor point, which is getting back into mom mode again, picking my kids up from school, doing dinner time, family time in the evening, and all of the things. But from let's say 1:15, 1:30 to about 3 p.m., of course, it can look a little different on weekends. If my kids are out or they're with their dad or something like that, it can change. But this is a typical rhythm that I would have throughout the week. During those hours is when I am doing the expressive work. It's the stuff where I need quiet time. It's the time when I need a couple of really focused hours to get into that mode and to do what it is that I need to do. So that looks like writing, recording a video, creating an offer for my business, planning, and all of those things. It could be designing for my business. I don't usually use this time, those focused hours, for things like editing videos or, admin work, because I can do those things when I'm tired at my other anchor point for working, which I'll get to in a minute. But I kind of save those activities where my brain doesn't need to be as creative or as turned on, let's say, for times in the day when I just don't have as much focus or energy and there's more interruptions in my day. So at 3 o'clock, this is the next anchor point. It's a natural transition where now I have to go pick up my kids from school. I like to leave a little bit of time between work and the time that I need to leave just to kind of decompress. And then I go pick up my kids and now I'm in, mom mode again. I'm in deep mom mode. I am making dinner, getting kids home. We're doing family time. And then my final anchor point of the day is after my kids go to bed. This is often when I transition back into light admin, kind of lighter activities and tasks that I need to do in my business. So that will often look like the time that I'm doing editing. This is when I edit a lot of my videos or my podcasts, is after the kids go to bed. It doesn't require a lot of bandwidth. Some of you I know struggle with the tech side, so editing a video when you're tired at the end of the day may not be a good time for you to edit a video, because that requires a lot of brain power, especially if you are not so savvy with some of the tech and all of the things. You're going to be looking at your energy to determine what makes the most sense for you, what rhythm is going to make the most sense for your brain, and when you have the most energy. So that's something that you'll just kind of have to start paying attention to and have some awareness around to help you figure it out. So after my kids go to bed, like I said, I'm usually doing the editing. I'm doing light maintenance of my business. I could be, updating some workflows that I have. I could be planning out what the next day or the next week looks like, those kinds of things. So this is usually between 9 and 11 I'm doing these things, and it's usually not for a full 2 hours either. Like, it's around that time. It could only be an hour one night. It might be 45 minutes. Sometimes it is the full 2 hours, but I'm pretty tired at that time. And I just don't have the mental capacity to do some of the things that I would want to do and take care of. I'd love to write out a lot of content during that time, but I just know I'm spent at that time. So I just choose lighter activities that I know I will be able to handle even when I'm tired. Okay, so how do I stay productive even when I am not forcing my creativity to come? Well, one thing that I know is that flexibility doesn't mean chaos. It doesn't mean that you don't have any structure and that things are all over the place and that things are haphazard in your business and not getting done. Like I said, I still plan my content weeks ahead because I have to, because things are so unpredictable, because my time is so tight and scarce. If I'm always having to create right in the moment, things would never happen. So I try to plan things out as far in advance as I can and have those ready so I'm not scrambling when it comes time to create. But if it happens, it happens. I roll with it. So right now, for instance, I am working on a Canva kind of beginner's essential. It's like a guide, a PDF guide with videos. And it's something that I've wanted to launch now for the last few months. And I have this Sunday blocked off. I have 3 hours on Sunday blocked off when I'm supposed to have a quiet home where I can sit down and kind of just create the content so that I can get this Essentials Guide launched pretty soon. But I know when Sunday comes, many things could happen. Maybe my children are home and I was supposed to have that time to myself. Maybe I've had a horrible sleep and the energy is just not there and I'm fighting that resistance of the words to come, ideas to be flowing. I still know that on Sunday during these hours is when I'm going to be working on building out this guide, but I give myself some flexibility within that time frame to choose and to allow my brain to choose what it wants to focus on. So if Sunday comes and our ideas aren't coming to me and I can't focus very well, there's crazy things happening that are eating up my time and my energy, who knows? Then what I will do is I might just focus on creating the outline. Or I might write a list of the videos that I need to create or the resources that I need to accompany this workbook, if there are any. So I might just be doing lighter things versus actually creating the content. So I just give myself that kind of flexibility and spaciousness as well. And that helps me, again, feel like I'm still being consistent. I'm still moving forward, but I'm not being boxed in so that I'm feeling guilty if something happens and I can't get the guide finished the way that I had hoped. I'm still being consistent, I'm still working at it, and I'm still gaining momentum on it. The structure is still there. It's just a gentler way to work within it. So over time, I've noticed that my creativity really flows and has like 3 modes. The first is the inspiration mode, and this is, if you think about it, it's like the inhale. This is the time when I'm walking, I'm reading, I'm capturing ideas and thoughts are coming in. I'm filling the creative well. The second phase of my creativity is the expression, and this is what I refer to as the hold. This is where I'm recording, I'm designing, I'm writing. It's my most aligned and my most energetic phase. And the third is the maintenance phase, or as I like to call it, the exhale. This is the editing phase, this is the admin, this is the light work, the releasing, and often it's the resting, which is also a crucial part of maintaining creative flow and maintaining consistency in your business. So when I work within this rhythm, moving through all of these phases and these spaces, everything feels a lot smoother, and energetically it feels much more aligned too. Even on the messier, more chaotic and busier days, things are still moving and flowing. It's better to move slower than to not move at all. So I just try not to create from pressure anymore. I know that just doesn't work for me. I create between my energy, my time, and the realities of my schedule, which has limited capacity. But most importantly, I trust the process. I know that things are going to get done. It may not be on the exact timeline I had hoped for, but there's still structure, but it's soft enough to allow me to breathe inside of it. And because I do plan ahead, I'm not scrambling as much, which really helps. Of course, things happen that are out of our control. But if something happens, then I don't stress about it. I just pick up the next time from where I left off. I pivot if I need to, or I come back to it when I can. And I just accept that that's part of the season of the life that I'm in. And I don't let it stop me or hold me back from moving forward in my business, or let it get me down and make me feel like I'm failing in some way. That kind of permission and spaciousness is really what allows me to be consistent with a very unpredictable, inconsistent schedule, and it helps me to enjoy creating for my business too. If you have ever felt frustrated because you can't follow, a perfect schedule or a strict schedule, and you don't feel consistent, the problem could just be that you need a system that honors how you work, that honors your energy, your capacity, and the season of life that you're in. For some of us, creativity doesn't live inside rigid hours, and even if we wanted to show up at a certain time, our lives are not structured in a way that we can be creative on demand, even when the ideas are flowing. Sometimes the creativity and the consistency is living in the spaces in between. It's living in the cracks between life's unpredictability and our own natural rhythm and flow. Anchor points can give you enough rhythm to hold you steady and enough freedom to let your creativity breathe and allow you to keep showing up. So if you've ever felt like you're failing because you can't stick to a perfect schedule, then I hope this helps you realize that maybe a rigid, perfectly time-blocked schedule is not necessarily for you, and I hope it helps you find another way. You can be creative, you can be consistent, and you can still honor the energy and time that you have in this season of your life and in your business. So that's it for today's video. I would love to know, do you have anchor points or natural transitions that help you get into your consistent, deeper flow state that helps you continue to have momentum as you grow an audience and build your business? Where do you find your rhythm? Share it in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you again next week.
Thanks for listening to the Slow Creative Podcast. If today's episode resonated, I would love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to leave a comment or a reflection on the show notes at kristabauer.com/podcast, where you can find the latest episode and all of the links and resources mentioned in today's show. And if you know of someone who's craving more slow, intentional support for their business or their creative life, please consider sharing this episode. Until next time, keep listening to your energy, your creativity, and what truly matters.